Yeah, you get your
most of them
Civic
are pretty
Charge
awesome.
signed, stuff like that.
Yep, cool deal. But his name is Clinton Caudle. I believe that's how you pronounce it. That's what someone said. Could be Caudle. I don't know.
Yeah, if you know him, if you know Clinton, tweet us at SCG Live. Let us know how it's pronounced.
Yep, but we'll see who's on the play here in just a moment. It looks like Andrew, since he's already taken a look at his hand, a lot of players will have their hand face down first. Andrew taking a mulligan to 6, looked like he didn't have any lands in hand. Andrew, a really nice guy. I'm not exactly sure what part of the country he's from. He's one of those travelers. They roam the wastes.
They do, looking for wild Star City Opens to conquer.
Yeah, you know, scavenge where you can, I guess.
That's right.
But he's a really cool guy. We talk basically every tournament that I see him at. Usually go to dinner with him and stuff. He really loves his Red Blue Delver and Legacy. Even when he knows it's bad, he's going to play it. Doesn't matter. Yesterday he played that sweet Grixis deck where he killed himself with his Dustmantle Seer.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty fun to watch. You know, a little unfortunate for him. He didn't break through into the top 8, but hopefully here he's going to fare a little bit better. He's 3-1, and he mulliganed into a 6-card hand. Luckily, he has a few lands, and looks like he just drew his 3rd color. Andrew looks like he's playing Esper. He's got a lot of islands, plains, and swamps, splashing the blue for mostly for Cyclonic Rift. Doesn't look like he has any key runes in his deck, though. He has 17 basic lands.
Wow. And that's something you almost never see in this format.
Right. Clinton looks like he's also playing... well, that's a Griffin. I think that's an Orzhov Guildgate, but I don't think he's playing very much black at all. He has...
He's Naya, it seems like.
Let's see. Well, he has an Azorius Guildgate in his deck.
Huh, he must be splashing some blue card.
Yeah, he's splashing a bunch of stuff, it looks like. But he decides to play old Hill Giant.
Yeah, not so bad. So 2/3 flyer and a Hill Giant for Clinton Caudle, 3/3, versus Nuprov Guildmage, Keening Apparition, and a Balustrade Spy.
Yeah, and these guys are playing lightning fast here while we're trying to talk about their decks. How rude.
I know. Someone talk to them.
Yeah, Nuprov Guildmage definitely looking to potentially take over the late game. Andrew's deck looks fairly basic for an Esper deck. A lot of, you know, mid-range, a couple early creatures to help stall the board, to make sure he's able to get to things like activating his Nuprov Guildmage. Let's take a quick look over his deck list to see if he has any big late-game bombs. Guardian of the Gateless, one of the better 5-drop flyers that he could have access to, since it can block a multitude of creatures and deal damage to all of them.
War Leader's Helix on the Balustrade Spy, and Nuprov Guildmage will team up with the Keening Apparition to take down that Hill Giant. Schneider knows he's on the defensive.
He does, and that's a subtle play that I think many people wouldn't make, where he knows that he's going to be defensive, and he needs to take care of that 3/3. Excuse me. And since Clinton was tapped out from the Warrior Leader's Helix, there's no real danger of getting blown out by a combat trick, and he knows he needs to get off the table, even at the expense of his Nuprov Guildmage. Something that's great in the very late game, but very difficult to cast.
Right. And Clinton casts a 3/3 flyer here, Guardian of the Gateless, and that'll be immediately enchanted with that 1,000 Lashes.
Yep, and that's the answer that...
Oh, no.
Well, it looks like... Treasury Thrall from Andrew Schneider is a little bit better play, even though he's going to be taking a load of damage here, 5 total in the air down to 9, but he does have that Extort as well as the 1,000 Lashes next turn to stabilize.
Right, there wouldn't be many plays in his deck that would be better than the Lashes, but Treasury Thrall is one of them.
Yeah, him being able to get back the Balustrade Spy to stop the you know, the Sunspired Griffin from getting in there is also important to note as well. Assuming that Clinton doesn't play a gigantic creature to block. I don't think you should read it after combat. I think you should read it well before combat. But yeah, hopefully for Clinton, the Andrew doesn't have enough time to really do anything about it. But,
okay, so it's going to get launch partied. Andrew not happy about it.
But a little unfortunate for Clinton that he didn't wait for the 1,000 Lashes there.
Right.
But he does keep Andrew from being able to get back any of his creatures with that... Treasury Thrall. Right.
Yep. So 1,000 Lashes down on the Guardian. Andrew Schneider seems to have stabilized at 7 life, and he's going to start chipping away at Clinton's with that Keening Apparition.
All right. So I'm going to assume that the 1,000 Lashes, let's see, it triggers on the Enchanted player. So Andrew might have missed that trigger there for that 1 point of damage. I'm not sure. The life totals don't necessarily reflect exactly what they have on their life pads. And I did not see Andrew move to his life pad, but he could have done it in one swift motion. You know, 1,000 Lashes plus pass turn, take a damage. Right. He did remember it this turn. That should put Clinton down to 18, I believe.
And Andrew Schneider adds, I think that's a Tithe Drinker, to his side of the board.
The white creature, so you got it both turns. Okay, cool. So he did remember both triggers for the 1,000 Lashes. We do have confirmation of that. From Clinton's side, it looks like we have a white creature. That is... I can't tell what that is.
Is that a mythic rare? No, it's not.
Snare Squad.
Oh, that's the Haz the Snare Squad. Okay. We'll get that
I was
one
looking
up on
at
screen for you.
Andrew's list. My apologies. That's what I thought was a Haz the Snare Squad, but I couldn't find it on the deck list. So, Haz the Snare Squad, able to potentially get in for some damage. Tapping down an opponent's creature. Was that a Putrefy from Clinton to take care of the Tithe Drinker? Does he have a Putrefy in his deck? I'll take a look real quick.
I believe he does.
Yeah, he does have a Putrefy. That does look like that is what he cast to kill the Tithe Drinker. Not only keeping Andrew from extorting, but keeping him from being able to, attack and gain a bunch of life from the lifelink. As Clinton does want to start attacking with his creatures. And following up with a Court Street Denizen.
So right now we have 1/4, a 2/2 versus a 2/2 here.
Yeah, and that Snare Squad really doing a number on Andrew Snyder's defenses. Even if he has another blocker, it's going to be hard for him to block profitably. But Angelic Skirmisher, that's quite the defensive creature. I don't necessarily like this attack. Can we bring up Angelic Skirmisher real quick? It has a lot of abilities, and I want to make sure I don't mess this up. But Angelic Skirmisher, at the beginning of each combat, including your opponents, you name one of a multitude of abilities, and all creatures you control gain those.
Right.
I think Lifelink is one of them,
Lifelink
and
is,
Andrew
yeah.
was able to use that to gain life. Flying, however, is not one of them, so you're not able to make all of your creatures fly. Just go right over your opponent. But First Strike, Vigilance, and Lifelink, all very powerful effects that you can choose to do. Court Street Denizen coming in against the Skirmisher. I assume Andrew's just going to take it for fear of a Blood Rush card.
Right. He can't really block here. It would be pretty suicidal to just snap block. I mean, your opponent, yeah, he only has one card in hand, but it's a crazy attack if he doesn't have it.
Right. All right, so he's going to choose Lifelink here, and he's going to gain, 6 life, up to 12 at a very healthy life total now. Not even really afraid of a potential Blood Rush card from Clinton anymore. He's also dealing him 4 damage worth of flying, which along with that 1,000 lashes should end the game in just a few swings if Clinton can't find an answer.
Right. Second Balustrade Spy for Andrew too to add another flyer to his board.
Right. All right, so Clinton, looks like a Vassal Soul that he drew for the turn. Gonna be a flyer to potentially block, but doesn't look like it's really gonna help him all that much. He can tap down with the Court Street Denizen, the Balustrade Spy, so he's able to attack, but opts not even to use the activated ability from the Court Street Denizen. Andrew with just a pair of lands in hand doesn't really need a whole lot else though, since he does have those 2 big flyers, as well as the ability to give all his creatures lifelink, not in any danger of losing the game on the spot.
Oh, and this is really just the example of the dragon taking it home in limited.
Yep, and sometimes that's, how it works. He used that Putrefy on a Tithe Drinker, ended up losing to an Angelic Skirmisher. You have to save your removal spells for the later parts of the game, so you're actually able to deal with the creatures that are more powerful, the big flyers. Tithe Drink, could have gained him some life. Maybe he was just trying to be more aggressive since Andrew was under 10 life, but ultimately ended up backfiring, and now he's just going to lose to those flyers from Andrew.
That's right. I mean, he was still at about 20 life at the time. Yeah, there was a 1,000 lashes on his creature, but he was in no hurry. He could have waited 1 or 2 turns, let that Tithe Drinker live, no big deal.
Yeah, and all he has to do, if Andrew does want to trade off his Tithe Drinker with one of his creatures, that's fine. He gains 2 life. And really, I think he was afraid more of the Extort, since that was the main way to gain life without actually trading. But he could have even just held back, his Hazda Snare Squad, and force Andrew into a very awkward situation if he wanted to attack.
Right, so Clinton Caudle now on 3 life versus Andrew Schneider's 20.
Yeah.
How the game has turned around with this big lifelinker.
Yeah. So you're telling me Angelic Skirmisher is a good card, or
4/4 flying lifelinks are good.
That's what I heard. Andrew just with a couple lands and Looks like, I think that was Lazav in his hands.
Wow,
Looked
the
like
Lazav?
The Lazav, but he's only got one blue, so it didn't matter. Let me double check his list real quick to see if he's got it. That's exactly what that was. So it should be on multicolors. These cards are not sorted to make it easy to find. So it doesn't look like he has Lazav. I'm trying to figure out what that multicolor card was. We'll figure it out. You know, he didn't actually cast it, so it's
maybe we'll see it
not
for
that
game
important at the moment.
So I saw Clinton there. He immediately pulled out a Sundering Growth. He wants to get that 1,000 lashes off the board as soon as it comes, and he'll side in at least one of those. It looked like he had two, but is only bringing in one. He's going to wait till he sees the rest of Schneider's deck before he sides in both.
Right.
Andrew doesn't look like he found anything. A little cursory look at the board, and he's going to shuffle up.
Alrighty. Well, those players should be ready in just a moment after doing some shuffling. You know, Andrew taking that game basically just on the back of Angelic Skirmisher, but subtly on the back of Clinton's potential play mistake of burning his Putrefy a turn too early. Right. You know, cards like Angelic Skirmisher or just, you know, big flyers or dragons in general, or, you know, game-breaking cards that come down and you have to have an answer for them or you lose. Those are the cards you want to save your hard removal spells for, like Putrefy. Now, if he had had something, you know, like a burn spell or you know, what was the blue enchantment, the new one that taps a creature? Yeah, something like Runner's Bane, where it's only got a limited number of targets. Sure, then you put it on like a Tithe Drinker. You put it on a smaller creature because that's really all it can target. But Putrefy is so valuable that it's hard to justify killing just a 2/1 creature with it, even though that creature can potentially get Andrew out of the bind by itself if you decide to make a strange attack or he draws a removal spell for your blocker.
Exactly, and you know, the Tithe Drinker, if Clinton let it live, it probably would have gained 7 life, dealt Clinton 5 damage. But that's really no big deal because, as we saw, the Angelic Skirmisher dealt 20 damage.
Yeah, and that's definitely worst case scenario, you know.
Yeah.
And like best case scenario, the Tithe Drinker, you know, drains you for 2, maybe 3 life points off of Extort, never attacks because you just have your 1/4 sitting back, you know, playing defense, and Andrew never really has a point where he wants to attack.
Right. So Clinton Caudle, I'm sure now that he lost to the Angelic Skirmisher, he's going to be a little more careful with that Putrefy this game.
Yep. It's always safe to assume that in sealed deck, your opponent is going to have at least 1 good rare in his deck. You know, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 6.
Could be, but
not
at
very
least
often.
1.
Yeah, not very often more than 1 or 2. But, you know, if you don't have an answer to that one card and they draw it, you know, things are going to go south in a hurry. The way that, you know, Limited has progressed over the past couple years with mythic rares and, you know, moving from 5-pack sealed to 6-pack sealed, it's just a higher abundance of stronger cards. And, you know, the removal that's hard removal, like Putrefy, like a Mortify type effect, like a Doomblade type effect, those cards are just way stronger than they used to be, and you can't burn them too early.
Right, and, you know, I remember losing to Visara the Dreadful way back in Onslaught Seal. There was one common that could answer Visara the Dreadful.
Hold on. We got a Tavern Swindler. Somebody go get some quarters.
Quarters, you say?
Yeah, so Andrew, with the Tavern Swindler, basically just as a Grizzly Bear, very rare that you're going to activate the Tavern Swindler to gain life, unless you're either feeling real lucky or you're in a point where the 3 life doesn't matter that you lose, and the 6 life that you could gain does matter a lot. But here, probably, I'm really surprised he didn't just trade off with the Mastiff the previous turn. Maybe he has an Execution Swing in hand, so I think he does want to try to use that, you know, to take out his opponent's creatures here.
Right, so the Mastiff's going to charge in with the Reckoner. Clinton Caudle shrugs his shoulders, say, okay, if you have the arrows, the Avenging Arrows, you have it.
Yeah,
but instead
it seems strange that he would want to block here. Maybe he's got a removal spell and he's just trying to put Clinton in a position where he uses a Blood Rush effect or a Pump spell or something like that and gets blown out by his removal spell. But Execution Swing, taking care of that Boros Reckoner pretty easily after combat, after he does take the 3 damage from the stipulation. Right?
Yep, and you know, if it was yesterday, I would have guessed it would have been a tragic slip on the Boros Reckoner, but today, this is limited. And it's a swing.
Yeah, Execution Swing being able to cast at any point. Clinton, I think, has the Giant Growth Hill Giant. I cannot remember that guy's name. To save my life, the red creature, Rubble Belt Maka. he has Rebel Belt Maka in hand, and if Andrew had made the mistake of playing his Execution Swing after damage and been very specific, like, still during combat damage, I'm going to cast this Execution Swing, then he could have still been considered an attacking creature, and that makes the Blood Rush still be able to target it.
Right, so it looks like Andrew tried to cast a 5-drop, wasn't able to, only had a few lands, so instead had to cast a Balustrade Spy.
What a jerk. Just got to settle for a good flyer.
Yeah.
3 toughness, pretty good in this format, honestly. You see cards like Sunspire Griffin gaining a lot of traction now that all the formats have kind of converged. There's a lot of 2-force in the format. There's a lot of 2 toughness creatures in the format. So having a 2/3 flyer, very good. Whereas before, it was decent but not like backbreaking.
Right.
And now Andrew does have the 5 mana to cast his giant vampire monstrosity from Dragon's Maze.
You know what? I can't say I even know the name of that one.
All right. Well, we'll get it in a second. He's a Blood Drinker or something or another.
Lavinia. No, that's the other one. Mirovosk, Mind Drinker.
Mirovosk, something drinker. I knew it was a drinker.
Yep.
Most vampires are drinkers. they hit the sauce from time to time.
Yep.
So we have a big flying vampire. Can we get that up on the screen just so everybody knows exactly what it does?
Mirovosk.
And we just have a couple of flying armies battling back and forth. Andrew looks like he's ahead since his is a little bit bigger, but I don't think he can profitably attack and kill both creatures without losing something. The 2/4, Mirko Vosk. If I'm pronouncing that poorly, I apologize. Andrew does have a Devour Flesh, so if there was some sort of double block shenanigans going on, he could have really punished Clinton in one way or another. But it doesn't look like he has a whole lot, so he just attacks with both guys to get in 2 points of damage.
Yep, and it looks like a Keening Apparition coming down for Andrew.
Yeah, as well as it looks like an Undercity Informer, which is coming down right after that.
So the ability on the Mirko Vosk is actually pretty relevant because the Balustrade Spy has already milled 1 land. Clinton Caudle, he has 4 lands, so the 4 lands that the Mirko Vosk mills it can be relevant, especially if it hits you a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, Mirko Vosk, I think getting hit twice is basically game over. You get almost the entirety of your deck milled, if not, all of your deck. Like if the last couple lands are in the bottom of your deck, that means you're not drawing spells anymore.
Right.
You only play about 17 lands in limited. If you already have like 4 in play, maybe 1 or 2 in hand, you don't really have that many left to go. And if the bottom 5 cards of your library has 4 lands in it or something, it's going to be pretty rough.
Yep.
And to be fair, it is a 2/4 flyer as well.
Right. It's certainly easy to stop. 2/4 flyer for 5 is not above the curve in terms of its stats, but it's really that milling ability. It's kind of like a 10/4 flyer in that way.
Yeah, it does. It's like a 10/4 flyer whenever it hits the opponent. Not really a 10/4 flyer whenever it's in combat with another creature.
Right.
So the Undercity Informer, along with the Keening Apparition, a sizable ground force for Andrew. He's going to use a Devour Flesh here to really put the question to Clinton: which creature is least important to him? Decides to sacrifice the Hazda Squares. Yeah, Snare Squad. Getting it out of there. I feel like I'm in Game of Thrones, man. All the Hazdas and the people from the other side of the aisle.
And the Hosters and the things like that. So it looks like the Balustrade Spy and the Mirko Vosk. Oh, maybe not. Might be changing our mind here.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Like, his opponent is at 22. He kind of just wants to hold back the Vosk, just so he can either bounce off of the Sunspire Griffin or eat the Assault Griffin if he really wants to. But he opts to be aggressive here, turning all of his guys sideways and offering up a trade for free of the Keening Apparition for a couple extra points of damage. He would get to mill a bunch on Clinton if the Drinker hit. So basically, Andrew figuring out he can get in a free 2 points of damage there, hitting Clinton for 6.
Yeah, the Mirko Vosk is just so scary, especially since Andrew has the Undercity Informer in play that's just going to start milling Clinton if it ever gets close.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, not to mention, Clinton is stuck on 4 lands, and if he mills 4 lands out of his deck, the density of lands in his deck is going to be much lower. Looks like he drew... It looked like a War Leader's Helix, but the picture on the War Leader's Helix and the casting cost look very similar to the Angel from Gate Crash.
Yeah.
I want to say not Fireman Angel, that's the old one. But here's the Vaishno Striker.
So 2/2 haste, it's going to get an additional +2/+2 when it comes into play, and Clinton decides he can only race at this point.
Vaishno first blade, my apologies. Okay. Yeah, so Vaishno first blade getting in for an extra 4. This is 9 total damage coming at Andrew. If he doesn't really have anything here, it's going to be tough for him to win this game. You know, he's going to go down to 4 life. He does have a reasonable defensive force should he decide to hold back. Along with the Undercity Informer, though, on top of the Drinker, you know, he could just mill out his opponent next turn, and that's definitely a consideration.
Exactly. He has the ability to mill 8 lands and all the rest of the cards that he hits from Clinton Caudle's deck, but fortunately for Clinton, he's only drawn 4 land, and Andrew's only milled 1, so that would not be enough.
Yeah. Andrew takes a look at his life. He actually is going down to 3 if he doesn't have anything here. My apologies.
I think his last card is a Cyclonic Rift too. So he has a lot of decisions here. He's on 6. Cyclonic Rift Overload costs 7, so he has to decide if Clinton can deal him 3 extra damage.
Yeah, I mean, since he has the haste guy, that actually seems kind of I don't know why you would bounce that guy in particular. I mean, you prevent 1 extra damage, but he has haste next turn. I think bouncing the Assault Griffin would be a little bit better.
Yeah, and it looks like we have the Maka coming down on a flyer to deal an extra 3 points of damage, Blood Rushed.
Yep, and that's going to deal a total of 8 damage, putting Andrew to 4. And I don't think he can really afford to attack with too much. Probably just the Drinker here. You know, maybe not even that.
Right.
He still has 1 flyer left after that, but
if he knew that Clinton had the Giant Growth in hand, he would not attack with the Murkovosk, but I don't know if he has a choice. I don't know how else he's going to win this game.
Actually, it looks like Clinton has War Leader's Helix in hand. I don't think it matters entirely. You know, it's possible that he's just going to attack here, see a little more of the information of Clinton's deck. You know, maybe Clinton draws a land, he plays a creature, and he has enough mana to mill him out, but that doesn't seem remotely likely.
Yep, so Murkovosk gets activated. Clinton's going to mill until he gets 4 lands. 1, 2, 3, and 4.
All right, so he does get to see a reasonable number of Clinton's cards. I assume in response to the War Leader's Helix to kill him next turn, he's going to mill, you know, until he hits the next 4 lands, and just to see a couple more cards in Clinton's deck.
Exactly. We have all the information about Clinton's deck, but Andrew doesn't. War Leader's Helix is a surprise, and
no, well, Andrew decides to pick him up.
Ooh. Hello, Viashino Shanktail. What is this?
Oh no, we're bugging out.
A little behind-the-scenes look at SCG Live here. This is how the magic happens.
All right, so a little bit of technical difficulties. We'll get that off the screen for you in just a moment. This is our list of all the cards, so you guys can see at home when we start talking about certain things. I think Andrew realized his mistake there at the end of the game, not able to activate his Undercity Informer. Once he began scooping up his cards, you've already declared that you've conceded the game, and you don't have the chance to go back and start activating things.
Right.
You know, he was dead anyway. It's a little bit of information he misses out on. Might not have been too important, but he does potentially get to see some more combat tricks from Clinton, some more removal spells. So, you know, maybe he loses to a card he would have seen, and he could have played around it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and you know, I was looking at Andrew's deck right now, and he has a Lavinia of the 10th as well. And if you guys don't know Lavinia, hopefully we can get it on screen for you. But it's
in just a minute, because we have to get back to the
right.
But Lavinia of the 10th, a blue and white creature, 5 mana, 4/4. With protection from red, and when she comes into play, she detains all the opposing creatures that cost 3 or less, I believe.
4 or less.
Or 4 or less.
I want to say.
It might be 4 or less, just because she's a 5-drop. So
right.
She detains, you know, all their non-land, or I guess all their creatures, maybe non-land permanents. I don't believe that she shuts down planeswalkers for a turn, but I could be wrong on that. But we will probably get that card up on screen for you, since it is in Andrew's deck.
Yeah, and you know, it's such a great card. It's like all the best parts of Cryptic Command for limited, and also it's like a fog too, in that they can't even attack you on their next turn. So one of the best rares from Dragon's Maze, and Andrew Schneider's
deck. It is a
deck.
rare and not a mythic,
Right,
and that's important to note.
Exactly.
It will come up much more often than a regular mythic rare.
So he has the Lavinia of the 10th, he has Murkovosk, he has Cyclonic Rift, and he has the Angelic Skirmisher.
Yeah.
So what a powerful deck.
All right, so they're getting ready here for game 3. Still shuffling up.
Any potential sideboard cards that you might side in versus Andrew Schneider if you're Clinton? I mean, you saw the 2 really powerful flyers. Does he have anything to punish flyers?
Let's take a look. Well, he's not really playing that much green. He may have access to something that can deal with flyers. He has a Towering Indrik, which he's already main decking. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot more that he could have.
Okay, well, it looks like he's just going to have to try and dodge those or beat them the honest way.
Yeah, I mean, he beat them last game.
Yeah,
so.
he did.
I mean, sometimes you have to block with your guys because you're at a low enough life total, and then a timely Blood Rush really puts it away. Andrew looks like he is lacking white mana, but he does have a 2-drop and potentially another creature here. Yeah, there's an Undercity Informer. I also saw a Gutter Skulk in hand, so not a bad start, not a bad force coming down, but he really wants to draw white mana so he can cast 2 spells next turn.
And Court Street Denizen from Clinton, that might enter blocking mode. He could be on the back foot this game.
Yeah, I definitely would have blocked there since Andrew does have 2 creatures in play already, and now this Gutter Skull coming down is representing a sizable clock for Andrew. He does have Cyclonic Rift in hand, like you said, as well, and he can just use it like an unsummon just to bounce whatever blocker Clinton might put up in front of his creatures and really put Clinton in a tough spot.
Yeah, so it's kind of flipped around a little bit. Clinton was the aggressor the first 2 games. Andrew Schneider really taking the priority here. The initiative.
So he decides to tap the Gutter Skulk with the Court Street Denizen. Now, Andrew, if he doesn't draw a white source here to play 1,000 Lashes, it's likely he's going to Cyclonic Rift, or I guess he just decides to trade. Clinton actually debating not blocking, which is pretty bold considering he's already down to 8 life. Andrew could have a multitude of cards to really push him, through over the next couple turns. That Cyclonic Rift, his 1,000 Lashes, if he draws a white source next turn. So I think Clinton's actually in a really bad place because he opted not to trade twice.
Wow, and he's attacking.
He's attacking. Maybe he has some big life gain card that we're not seeing. He does have a Vaishno First Blade, I think, or there's a Robot Maka. I thought I saw a Vaishno First Blade, so he can potentially just haste out Andrew on the next turn if Andrew, doesn't play anything. But he does, like I said, have that Cyclonic Rift, which I think he probably should have cast that turn.
Right, at the end of the turn?
Yeah, and then, potentially being able to cast another spell with all of his mana untapped. He's never going to ultimate it. The Robot Maka, not particularly devastating with just the Giant Growth effect, and as you see this turn, he's just doing it during his main phase because he didn't draw, his white source for 1,000 Lashes, but he's attacking for 6, putting Clinton down to 2 life.
Yeah, this is crazy. Andrew Schneider on 3 lands, and with this really just an unimpressive attack force, but it did the job because Clinton was...
What's very interesting, I don't mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry, you continue. So what's actually very interesting is that Clinton has that Vaishno First Blade in hand, and along with the +2/+2 and haste, as well as the +3/+3 from the Robot Maka, he can do 12 damage this turn.
Wow.
And that's what he was going for since he has the tap ability of the Court Street Denizen. He was really hoping to be able to push through those last few points of damage. Andrew doesn't have a flyer in play, so he could just play out his Boros Reckoner here and hold back his whole team, try to go out to trade off. I do believe that was a Boros Reckoner in his hand, as well as the Vaishno First Blade, which can't quite kill Andrew, and once Clinton figures out that he can't win the game on this turn, he will likely decide to just cast Boros Reckoner, play his Guildgate, and pass the turn back. Cross fingers.
Exactly. Versus an opponent with 3 land, he has 6 spells in hand,
right?
And all you can do is hope they're all white.
Dude,
Clinton.
And if the game makes it to where Andrew draws a plains, and oh wow, I don't know.
Wow.
I mean, maybe he has eyes in the sky, but he's at 2. I don't understand what happened.
Yeah, not sure what's going on here.
Oh, nope. The Eyes in the Skies make 2 white creatures, which Court Street Denizen can tap with. So he, pre-combat can do that, tap 2 creatures, and still be able to block the last creature. So Clinton should hold him, back up before combat. Cast Eyes in the Sky. Eyes in the Skies. I don't know. It's one or the other.
Skies in the Eyes?
Yeah, Skies in the Eyes.
There it is.
Lucy in the Skies with eyes in her diamonds. So tapping his 2 creatures and creating 2 blockers to potentially threaten lethal next turn with the Vaishno First Blade. This is pretty sweet here for Clinton, actually gonna pull this game from the grasp or from the clutches of defeat. Just because he decided to race.
Yeah, the Court Street Denizen. I didn't like the decision when he made it, but he knew more than I did.
Yeah.
Court Street Denizen's super powerful with Eyes in the Sky.
Yep. And it's awesome, interesting to note that Clinton decided not to trade on turn 3, turn 4, turn 5. Just never wanted to trade his creatures because he knew that he was building to a point where, along with Vaishno First Blade, as well as a couple combat tricks like the Eyes in the Skies with the tap ability from Court Street Denizen, was going to be able to pull this game out. And it looks like this 1,000 Lashes is just going to do nothing. It's going to deal 1 damage, but he does have the
Sundering Growth, I think.
The Sundering Growth, and then he's going to follow it up with the Vaishno First Blade, and that's going to be the game.
Yeah, and Andrew's going to be left wondering where his aggressive draw faltered. Oh, and there's a War Leader's Helix just in case.
Yeah, and he does have that Rebel Belt Maka in hand too, so because of the Cyclonic Rift from earlier, so there's a bunch of different ways he can go to win this game. Andrew knows that he's probably dead from the Rucka now that the Sundering Growth is taking care of the 1,000 Lashes. But yeah.
Yep, there's the hand. Wow, Andrew Schneider gets defeated. I thought for sure he was going to win that one, but Clinton Caudle wins it 1 life.
Yeah,
well done.
very, very tricky sort of interactions with Eyes in the Skies and Court Street Denizen.